right, so we got to talk about this. I led in the show saying this was some crazy sound that we're going to hear here from Liam Neeson. Everybody remembers him from the Taken franchise. He made like 85 of those movies. Actually, they only made 3.
It felt like 85, though.
Right?
Same plot.
Same plot, all 3 of them. Well, look, he was on a press junket, Liam Neeson. He's promoting his latest film, and Neeson got candid, and by candid, I mean a little bit crazy with this one while discussing how he coped with what was a very serious situation of a family member who was raped some years ago. Well, he copped to feeling primal about it and went on to say this. Take a listen.
I'm ashamed to say that. And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, you know, so that I could kill him.
So there it is. I mean, that's not taken out of context there. That's literally what he said when talking about this situation with the family member and how he was coping with it. This is frightening stuff.
It's frightening. I was just going to say that it's such a dangerous thought process, a mindset to have. I mean, this actually just happened here in Chicago about 3 weeks ago at the Pokey Pokey restaurant downtown on Wabash, when a manager threw a chair at a black teenager.
Simply because it triggered an emotion.
Because he was black.
He had a former experience
he had been robbed. There was a fight within the restaurant, and then 2 days before, someone had robbed them. Both of those suspects in those cases had been black. And
so he just assumed every black person coming in had the same
intent. It's just
intent.
Unbelievable, because I think if you end up thinking this way, well, you can also think the other way. Like, what if black people all thought white people were wrong? Like, it doesn't make sense.
You can't reduce what one person does to an entire race. And I think when people are angry, like he deserved to be angry because it was a horrible thing that happened to someone that he loved, you get like, you have animal instincts when you react, primal, like you said. And so you're just making, I feel like I'm like not being, I feel like I'm not explaining this right. But it's like, you're going after an entire race, you're reducing people to being non-human, and in this case, he just looked at him as a race and that B word. It's really hard because we can't say all the words on here. And it's just horrible, obviously. I mean, he did say, looking back, the part that we didn't include was, looking back, I realized that was awful. I learned a lesson. Revenge leads to more revenge and more killing, but I don't think he realized how offensive that was when he was even sharing that story, because, it's...
I think that's kind of what it was. Like, I think he thought he was sharing something. You know, sometimes people have these moments of enlightenment that they share to say, I grew from this.
Yeah.
How he spoke about it felt like that anger still lingered within him. I think that's what the problem was. He didn't say, I was waiting and this is awful, but I was waiting for a black man to come out and instigate something. He said, black bastard. And he said it with such an anger to him that you had to pause and say, do you still feel this way about black people? And the bigger thing there is, this is where prejudices come. This is the very genesis of prejudice.
Right. I would say the only good thing about this, I feel like, is that it can bring an awareness to other people that obviously he didn't have at that time. I hope it sounds like he has it now. I hope that he does. But I think that racism is so institutional and so deeply ingrained in all of us today. And so I spent time living in the South. I also spent time living here. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. And the difference between the South and the North is that the racism there is so outward. It's just, I don't like you, so I'm gonna stay over here, you stay over here. In Chicago, where we all live together, it's a melting pot. The racism is more institutionalized, and it bleeds out in ways that that may not be so black and white. It bleeds out in ways that are more hidden and harder to fight and combat, because many people, I don't think they're realizing that they're doing it, that they're being racist.
The eye for an eye mentality goes back to the biblical days. I get that part. I don't endorse it by any means. But that's a long-standing thing. And to be honest, if something that horrible happened to somebody in my life, being vindictive would cross my mind. I wouldn't go that route. I certainly wouldn't talk about repaying by killing somebody. That's really dark.
Like anyone
it's not
from
okay.
A race.
But I guess maybe I'd be more understanding, or maybe give him a little bit more leeway if he just said, I just wanted to go out there and find the person. But for him to say I was looking for any black person.
That could be you or me sitting right here.
That's wild. Like, that part's wild to me with this situation.
And what value does he give black lives if he's saying that too? You know, it's not okay. I feel like this teaches us that we need to find a way to talk about this stuff. We needed to find a way to talk about our growth and how, you know, maybe we feel a lot differently now than we did in the past. fast, but that's not the way to do it. And I'm kind of curious if it's going to be a career-ending thing for him.
That's a great point. Like, what's the backlash from this on something like that?
Yeah.
I guess I feel like it also shows, though, like this was coming from a real raw place, and I think that's what you picked up on when you were like, do you still feel this way? I think he was really reliving how he felt, that anger was so deeply ingrained, and if he was coming from such a raw, natural place for him, I think it just goes to show like the mindset that he was in, that he was in, and how natural it was, and how natural it might be for other people as well. Like, I think that's the best thing, is that maybe there's some kind of form of awareness, a higher level that we can all be aware of. The media plays a role in that. You know, what we see, the images of Black people that we see on TV and other races that we see on TV, the conversations within ourselves and our mindsets play a role in it, our laws, our social system, like all of that plays a role into feeding these prejudices.
Yeah, it's important to
It's almost like the PR agency told him, like, hey, share a personal story to really grip them on this film.
Well, he's promoting this film about revenge.
Yeah, so I think they were like, give your own revenge story, and I think they thought that would play.
Yeah.
And then they were probably like, whoa.
And he even caught himself and was like, I can't believe I'm saying this to a journalist.
Yeah.
But
it's
there's some lack of self-awareness there that I'm sure he won't have after this any longer because of this backlash. But whew.
It's shocking, but I think it's going to get more sympathy than we realize. I think it's going to get more sympathy than we realize.
I would hope not.
I don't know. All right, well, switching gears a little bit here, actually a lot. So let's talk about how we deal with friends who constantly reschedule. I wanted to ask you guys about this because I find it really annoying, but I also know that it's not always friends blowing each other off. I've kind of been the person in the situation.
You are blower offer?
I am not a blower offer, but I have been known to reschedule once or twice. So how do you guys feel about this when friends just are always like, oh, let's do this another day, and they're kind of changing it up?
You're not calling me out for doing this because I've done this before.
I was
waiting for you to jump in and take this shot.
Well, you know, I try to give you a break every once in a while. Tuesdays is my day off with you, Jordan.
I got nervous when I saw this story. I was like, uh-oh. I said, look, sometimes you have the right intentions, and then it just, you get trigger shy. Like, you're just like, I'm on the couch. You got so many other things throughout the week.
I'm trying to think. Jordan, he's probably done this to me about 4 times.
That's not true.
About 4 times he's flaked
true.
on me.
That's
and
not
now
true.
I'm just like, if he shows up, he shows up.
It's happened twice, and I've also been there the other time. I'm still batting like 800, so like my success rate is good. But I've done this a few times, and it always comes from, it's not coming from a bad place, like you don't want to be around that person. Clearly, I love Felicia. I love hanging out with her.
Yeah.
But there's moments where you're just like, I just don't have the energy to get up.
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy to get up.
Do I drain your energy?
No, I don't have the energy to deal with Felicia today. No, it's not that at all. So I do think you got to handle this. Never take it personally unless it becomes a theme. Like, just don't bother with that person.
It reminds me of that meme, sorry I'm late, I didn't want to come.
Yeah. So I always look at people's intentions with this, and you prefer for your friends to keep it real. I don't like people who are flakers, and I try very hard not to be. Not that I'm perfect, but I try very hard not to be, because it's just a commitment. You know, you're only as good as your word.
Sure.
Yeah.
But as I get, more into my career, I have a husband now. Family is number one to me, and I spend a lot of time with my mom and stuff.
Yeah.
And I find myself being way more protective of my time.
Yeah.
Me personally, though, I'd rather give you a maybe than a definitive yes or no. Like, I want to warn you, this may not happen.
I always appreciate when friends do that. For me, I have a friend who will say, I got to be honest with you, it's going to be a game time decision. Because then you can adjust your expectations. If you're like so excited, you think it's for sure going to happen, and then they bail at the last minute, you're so mad.
Yes.
Anyway.
That's true.
So I appreciate that. I also know with my friends that have kids, stuff comes up all the time. I'm like, this is a 50-50 shot if we're actually getting together. I'd be thrilled if we do, but like, it's just happened so much that they cancel that I'm like, all right, that's how it is. I personally just try to, you'll notice, I take a minute to get back to you when someone asks me if we're gonna hang out, because I want to try to make sure that I'm actually gonna have the energy to do that, try to look at the full picture.
Yes.
So, yeah.